What's up, everyone? So I just went to a book sale the other day and I come across the very first Goosebumps Horrorland book, Revenge of the Living Dummy. The Horrorland series was published in 2008, I believe. I just looked at the date, but let me look again. I believe 2008. Yep, 2008. So this series was started roughly 8 years after Goosebumps came to an end. I believe the last Goosebumps series 2000 book was written in 2000 or 2001, maybe around there. So R.L. Stine took a little bit of a hiatus after that and come back with this Goosebumps Horrorland series. And I have never reviewed a Goosebumps Horrorland book before on this channel, and you're about to find out why. I have mentioned in my previous Goosebumps videos that I'm not a fan of this series at all, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more and why, not just do a review of this book, but just kind of explain to some of you, I guess, why I'm not a fan of this series. So, I have read this book before, back when the Horrorland series was still relatively new. Of course, me being the Goosebumps fan that I am, I just had to check it out, and I remember not really being happy with it, along with some of the other Horrorland books I read at the time, years ago. But I didn't remember anything about them. I didn't remember anything about this book. I just remember not really liking it or caring for it that much. But when I saw it at this book sale, I just decided to grab it and revisit this series. There's some of the other newer Goosebumps books that I really like. Some from the Most Wanted series and the Slappy World series. Even had one really recently that I liked. It's Alive, It's Alive. I thought that one was pretty good. So I just decided to revisit the Horrorland series and maybe see if there was something that something that I missed. You know, it's been a while since I've read any of these books, so I decided to give this one a try again, the very first book in the series. And my thoughts and feelings for the Horrorland series are still the same. So, in this book, our main character, Molly, her cousin Ethan comes to visit, and he has a ventriloquist dummy that he brings with him. He's into ventriloquism. And her cousin Ethan fits this whole bratty kid trope. It's a very common trope in Goosebumps books for a younger sibling or cousin just to be a very bratty character, just very mean-spirited, just constantly pulling these very cruel pranks and being just a complete brat, honestly, and trying to get this main character, Molly, into as much trouble as he possibly can, which he does succeed at some points in this book. And we go through the usual routine of the ventriloquist dummy starting to say things on his own, and basically Molly becomes convinced that this dummy is alive. Her cousin Ethan is trying to convince her that the dummy is actually alive and he's not doing any of these things. The dummy goes through the usual routine of insulting everybody and even physically attacks Molly at a couple of points in the story. He hits her and stuff. The usual stuff we see in the Night of the Living Dummy books. There's been a lot of them at this point already, as you guys probably already know. And from there, I'm going to get into spoilers a little bit too. So if you're wanting to read this book, just a heads up, I'm going to be talking a little bit about spoilers. So as the story progresses and more of this stuff continues to happen with the dummy, and Molly becomes more and more convinced that this ventriloquist dummy is actually alive, she finds this piece of paper that has these magic words on it that will put the dummy to sleep. And because she believes that he's alive, she takes this piece of paper and recites the magic words. And after she recites the magic words to put the dummy to sleep again, she discovers this little remote, this little electronic remote, and she pushes the buttons, and the dummy comes to life or whatever, and starts reciting these insults and saying all these things that he's been saying throughout the book. And she learns that all this time it was Ethan, her cousin Ethan, playing this joke on her, trying to convince her that the dummy was real. Basically, it implies that this dummy is being electronically controlled by this remote, and all this time her cousin was just being just this terrible person, just this massive brat, and it was really just him all the time. And so naturally, with the words that she recited, she actually wakes up the dummy for real this time, and he really does come to life. So that whole twist was very, very predictable to me. I saw that coming from a mile away. And it just makes Ethan's character all that much more bratty. Like, he's honestly one of the worst Goosebumps characters. I think probably the second worst Goosebumps character I've ever read. Like, just in the terms of the things he does, the nature of his character, just how much of a brat he is. I would say behind the protagonist of The Curse of Camp Cold Lake from the original series, this is probably her cousin Ethan is probably the worst Goosebumps character of all time. Like, he is horrible. The things that his dummy does in this book, and then learning it was him the entire time. So then she actually brings the dummy to life by reciting this magical spell or whatever. And then from there, things get even worse, and then things are kind of quickly resolved in typical Goosebumps fashion in kind of a cheesy way. But yeah, I'm not going to really talk about the book much more than that. That's just kind of what happens. It feels like a very just retread of ideas. There's literally nothing new or special about the plot or the story. And I'm going to just kind of talk more about the Horrorland books in general now, and why I not only did I not care for this book that much, but why I don't care much for the Horrorland series in general. And one of the main things that I think is the reason why I don't like these Horrorland books that much is they just feel kind of cartoonish, and like Goosebumps Simplify, like Goosebumps Junior books. I think these ones are targeted at more of a younger audience than the previous Goosebumps books. These ones feel like they're geared more towards 8 or 9-year-olds than 12 to 13-year-old kids. Like, they just feel more tame. And the writing, it just does not feel as good either for some reason. I think maybe R.L. Stine was a little bit rusty. Like I said, it's been about an 8-year gap between this series and Series 2000, which was the last Goosebumps series he did before taking the break that he did. And then he come back with this Horrorland series. And I think maybe he was just a little bit rusty and didn't know exactly how to revive Goosebumps and how to go about writing them next and what he should do. And you can kind of see it in here. It just, I don't know. Yeah, that's honestly the main thing, is they just feel kind of cartoonish to me, kind of tame. But then there are some small sentences throughout that try to give the books a more mature aspect to them. There's one part in here where it's actually kind of like a joke or a reference, and I don't get it at all. It's slightly inappropriate, and it just feels very out of place and does nothing to the story. There's a part in here where Molly and her best friend are talking about one of their classmates, a kid they know from school, and she talks about the pictures she posts online, and they can't believe she posted those pictures of herself, and what would her parents do if she found out. And then that's it. That's cut off. I don't remember the exact quote. I was trying to look for it so I could actually read it to you guys, but I couldn't find it. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that quick. It was just weird. I think that's there to add a little bit of humor, but why would you do that? One, it just seems slightly inappropriate, especially if these Goosebumps books are even more tame than the previous ones. And it just feels so out of place. I don't get why R.L. Stine put that in there. It's just kind of weird. I did not find it funny. And yeah, I don't know. One thing too that I want to mention is that I don't actively hate these Horrorland books. I don't hate them at all. I just feel so indifferent to them. I just don't care about them at all. I don't think they're necessarily terrible. There's a lot of Goosebumps books from the original series even, as well as some of the newer books from the Most Wanted and Slappy World series that I do not like at all. I think they're truly bad books. But the entire Horrorland series, from what I remember, as well as this one that I just recently reread, I just feel so indifferent. I just don't care about them. Which is why you're probably not going to see another Goosebumps Horrorland review from me ever on this channel. And it's probably the only Goosebumps series that I will not go through, read them all, and rank them all like I'm trying to do with all the other Goosebumps series. I've already done it with the original and Series 2000 and the Horrorland series, Hall of Horror series. Sorry, guys. But the Goosebumps Horrorland series, yeah, I just kind of wanted to create this video also as an explanation as to why it's the one Goosebumps series I will not be doing that for. And it's kind of a bigger series, too. I believe 19 books consist of the Goosebumps Horrorland series. And I don't want to waste or spend my time reading 19 Goosebumps books that I just do not care about at all. One thing, too, I forgot to mention is the Goosebumps Horrorland series is a little bit interesting. So the actual book only consists of, or the main story only consists of the first about 90 pages. Yeah, about 90 pages. And then the last, because most Goosebumps books are about 120 to 130 pages in length. And then the last 20 to 30 pages consist of like this overarching story called Enter Horrorland, where the characters go to the Horrorland theme park, which was created in the original Goosebumps series. And then from there, the characters go into Horrorland and experience all of the different Horrorland attractions and everything. And then at the end of the Horrorland series, they like characters like all meet up and have to like escape the park and stuff. But to me, that's just as uninteresting as the main story was. And I think the same goes for pretty much all the Horrorland books, to be honest. And I really just do not care to try to revisit the other ones and get some enjoyment out of them. I'm just going to continue reading the Goosebumps books that I enjoy, which is pretty much every other Goosebumps series besides this one. Obviously, the newer series, I just don't enjoy as much as the original. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the Goosebumps Horrorland series and this one, Revenge of the Living Dummy, the very first book in the series. So for my fellow Goosebumps fans out there, now you know why I have not done any reviews of these books before, and why I will continue to avoid these series. I just simply do not enjoy it. If you're looking to get into Goosebumps books, I would not recommend starting with this series either. I would go to the original or Series 2000. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Revenge of the Living Dummy. What are your thoughts on this book, or just the Horrorland series in general? Do you really like the Horrorland series? I know it's somewhat popular. I know there's other Goosebumps fans out there that really enjoy it. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on the Goosebumps Horrorland series. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't like it. I don't know. But anyways, guys, that's about all I have for today. So thanks for watching.